good to see you again. How's everyone doing? I like standing here because I got yelled at by standing up here yesterday because apparently it was very difficult to videotape, but now she's ready, so it's okay. But yeah, so today we'll be talking about the Messiah and the Second Advent. Before I start, when was Divine Principle written? When was Divine Principle written? Come on. When was Divine Principle written? (1952), is that correct? No, I asked, it was a question, is that correct? No, we'll just ballpark it, but it was written in the 50s. What year is it now? 2018, right? So how many years was it? It's almost 70 years, right? 60, 70 years. In that sense, a lot of the text in the Divine Principle is a bit, okay, don't take this the wrong way, okay? Okay? But it's a bit outdated because the original text of the exposition of the Divine Principle has not been edited. We have been using it since it was written, right? So a lot of things that in the Divine Principle, it only mentions true parents very, very minimally. It refers to true parents as the Second Advent. Everyone understands that, yeah? Yeah. So, in that sense, I personally find this chapter very boring. Yeah? Anyone agree with me? Yeah? No? It's lost in translation. But anyway, it's because Second Advent, or the Messiah, it really refers to Jesus. And it talks about Jesus' role. But I think for us in this time, I think it's more important for us to relate to true parents. And in that sense, in order for the true parents that we see are true parents, and we relate with true parents as true parents and less like Messiah. Do you understand? Because when we were born, even when I was born, we called true parents, true father and true mother, right? But our parents before them, true father used to refer to himself as 선생님, teacher, right? That was before he was able to providentially proclaim his position as true parents. So, in that sense, our parents understand true parents as the Messiah, but for us, the younger generation, we don't really see him as the Messiah. We just see them as true parents. So in that sense, in order for us to truly build a relationship with true parents, it's not, we cannot just see them as our, greater parent, but we do have to see their role. We do have to understand their purpose and their mission as the Messiah as well. So, let's get into it. Let's read from the chapter 4 of the exposition of the Divine Principle. The Messiah comes to fulfill the purpose of God's work of salvation. God's purpose of creation was to be fulfilled with the establishment of the kingdom of heaven on earth. However, due to the human fall, we have built hell on earth in place of God's kingdom. Since the fall, God has been repeatedly working his providence to restore the kingdom. Being the history of the providence of restoration, human history's primary goal is to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. Sorry. I need to go back. 뒤로 하나. Sorry. Yeah. the mission of the Messiah is to fulfill the purpose of God's salvation. What this means is that the role of the Messiah came because of the fall. Does everyone understand? If Adam and Eve, when they were born, was there a need for a Messiah to come to save them? If they fulfilled their purpose? No, right? So, the role of Messiah came because of the fall. But in that sense, the Messiah is a representative of God who will save humankind. So in that sense, because of the fall, the role of the Messiah is a must. It's a necessity. Yeah, everyone understand? And all the other things is it's the kingdom of heaven on earth. The salvation is not just about heaven that we imagine in the spirit world, but God's ideal plan, God's ideal purpose was to create heaven on earth. And in the divine principle, it's referred to as kingdom of heaven on earth. Yeah, kingdom of heaven on earth. God's kingdom. When he refers to that, he means the physical world. So, in 천성경, True Father says this about the role of the Messiah. What will the Messiah do when he comes? In all of history, God never had a nation. Messiah comes as the commander-in-chief in the fight to restore one nation to God, a nation with sovereignty, territory, and people. Then, on that foundation, the Messiah will fight to restore the entire world, all the realms that expanded horizontally from the fallen ancestors to God. This is the mission of the Messiah. So, isn't this something that we heard of before? A nation with sovereignty, territory, and people. Where have you heard this before? Well, maybe you guys are too young. This is what 천일국 is. 천일국 is not just a word, but 천일국 is defined by like a nation where there's sovereignty, territory, and people. That's why, a couple of years ago, we received the 천일국 citizenship card, right? The yellow card. Yeah? That defines the people. Territory, what does territory mean? It means physical earth. We need a physical place. Sovereignty, where does sovereignty come from? It's a relationship that we build through the blessing. You are all under the sovereignty of true parents, don't you think? Yeah? So this is what true parents' mission is. Not just true parents, but the Messiah. But we know Jesus was not able to fulfill his mission. He wasn't able to complete it. In the process of fulfilling Messiah's role, he went to the way of the cross. But that's why it's the second advent. Jesus has to come again. The Messiah has to come again to fulfill, to finalize, the providence of salvation. Everyone understands, yeah? Yeah? So, that's basically it. Jesus came after the fall. Adam and Eve, let me back up. God created Adam and Eve. Through the growth stage, God wanted them to become perfect and inherit all the creativity and all the blessings of God. But through the fall, they were removed from God's lineage, and the biblical history is about God's work to restore humankind back to God's lineage, right? That everyone understands. In that sense, through the central figures, they tried to receive the Messiah, and Jesus was able to come, but because of the people, because of the Jewish people's unfaithfulness, he had to go to the way of the cross. Then, through the 2,000 years, we were able to receive true parents. This is something that you all have heard. But now, what's important is, how do we relate with true parents? How do we relate with true parents? We kind of skipped all this difficulties. We skipped all this history because when you were born, already there was a group. There was a group of blessed families, our parents. Even we have older brothers and sisters. You know that they're fourth generation now? They're fourth generation. You guys are, there's some third generation, most of you are second generation. They're fourth generation, soon they'll be fifth. In that sense, it's like our group, our people, our sovereignty is growing. In that sense, we kind of neglected the Messiah's role, but this, true parents, the true parents that we see, true father, the ones that we believe as our parents, it's easy to see them as, you know, just old people, very holy people, but it's really important for them, for you to understand like what they went through. You guys all listen to True Parents Life course. You understand what they had to go through, but that position, to substantiate that position, to be able to be called true parents, they went through many, many different things. It was the process of restoring many things that were lost. And you know through True Parents Life course that when True Father came, Christians didn't believe in him, therefore he had to go to the path of indemnity and restore everything back again. This is all related. You cannot separate this out from True Parents. This is the mission of the Messiah. And this is the mission of True Parents as well. That's what I would like to share with you today. In that sense, as the people who we believe, as the people who, you know, us who believe in true parents, who relate with true parents, we have to be able to understand what our role is, right? Our relationship with true parents is. And in that sense, the divine principle tells us that there was something wrong, something went wrong during Jesus' time. Human beings thus have their own portion of responsibility. They can either fulfill it in accordance with God's will or fail to fulfill it in contrary to his will. The nature of the fruits they bear depends upon whether or not they fulfill their portion of responsibility. To send the Messiah is God's portion of responsibility, right? However, belief in the Messiah is a human portion of responsibility. The Jewish people could either believe in the Messiah as God wished or not believe in him in opposition to his desire. In that sense, God created us, God created human beings, but they fell. But as a parent, with the parental heart, you do not want your children to die. That's why God, you know, went about the providence of salvation, providence of restoration. And it is his responsibility to send the Messiah to earth, but it's our human responsibility. It's the individual responsibility whether or not we accept him, whether or not we believe in him, whether or not we attend him. Everyone understand? So, True Father says about why the Messiah has to come again. When the Messiah comes again, what will be his purpose? It will be to shatter Satan's sovereignty, bring humankind back to God, expel Satan from this world, and work with Christianity to finish God's providence of salvation. These are the purposes that the Messiah comes to fulfill. In other words, the mission of the Messiah is to complete the providence of restoration for the sake of returning to the original world of God's will. The words from Divine Principle and the words from Seonghwa essentially repeats itself because the Messiah and the Second Advent's role is the same. It's to complete God's providence of salvation. That's basically it. Whether or not you accept Messiah's role, whether or not you accept true parents' role as the Messiah, like, true father and true mother as the Messiah, whether or not you see them that way, is up to you. In that sense, our relationship with them, our individual relationship with them is very important. Just as I mentioned, on my first presentation about our individual relationship with God is unique. It's different from everyone. In that sense, just as the same, our relationship, how we connect with true parents is different because it's different, but it needs to be built and it needs to be accepted by us as our portion of responsibility. Everyone understand? So then, similar to what we did last time, how can we accept true parents as the Messiah? Any ideas? Any ideas? Is it a difficult question? Who believes true parents is the Messiah? Okay, how do you know they are the Messiah? Because our parents said so? Then why? Anyone? Loudly. Huh? Sorry, one more time. Well, where did the values come from?
They're the ones who made the divine principle, and the values in the divine principle are the ones that I believe in.
If you believe in it, that's very good, but it's very difficult for most of us to accept, right? Just because, how do we know that divine principle is the truth, right? It's very easy to do so. That's the ideal case, but let me give you an example. My parents are ministers, right? So I grew up in the church. Like when we moved, we lived in the church. So, we had pledge service. Before Hundoke, we had pledge service, it was like 5 o'clock. And then we do family pledge and all that, right? So when I was young, it was normal. And then it was like, okay, there's a true parent, they're very holy. You shouldn't do anything bad in the prayer room, yeah? Everyone knows this. In your house, there's a prayer room, there's the holy candle, and then there's, that separate room. You don't do anything bad in there, it's a holy place. But when I got older, you start to question, right? Why are they special? Why are they special? Why do our parents, really believe in them, right? But, I went through the same phase, but my conclusion, long story short, is that the life that true parents live is fundamentally different from any good people that we know of. They're, case in point, like Mother Teresa and Gandhi, they really live for the sake of others. They really practice it. Yeah, they were good people, but true parents, it was more than just living for the sake of others, but then their purpose was for God. And they always did their best, and their life work really was to sacrifice themselves, their family, for the people, for the greater good. And in that sense, Mother Teresa and Gandhi, it was a self-sacrifice, but True Parents' teaching, True Parents' life was all about sacrifice for the greater good. Not just on an individual level, but on a family level, on a group, on a tribal level. You understand? True family went through many difficulties, but True Parents had to go on. Korean people suffered, but they had to go on. Japanese people had to suffer, but they had to go on. All the missionaries, in the beginnings of our movement, we still had to go on. And through their sacrifice, we are here where we are now. True Parents, do you think they were okay with this? When the missionaries in the Eastern Europe, when they were jailed, and when there's a True Parents' words, there's a video about Mrs. McDevitt reading about the True Father's kind of heart. When he received a letter that one of the missionaries passed away in jail. And the video clip still plays in my head whenever I think about True Father. But he feels the same kind of pain. But in that sense, he still has to do it because he does it for God. He's not doing it for himself. In that sense, all of this, all of us, we're moving forward. We're doing our best for the greater good. That's why the beginning is living for the sake of others. But in the end, we do it for the greater good, for God. That's why there are the stages. So in that sense, anyway, what we really need to understand is that we need to follow True Parents' example and not just see them as just True Parents because they said so, but True Parents as their role as the Messiah. That's where it began. God, they're the examples, they're the ones who bring about God's providence here. And through that, all that their life's work, they're able to become True Parents. But the name of True Parents holds that title, that meaning of the Messiah, the Messiah, the second advent, and Savior. Funny story is, True Father himself said that out of all the titles that he got, True Parents is the one that he liked the most. He doesn't like to be called the Messiah. He doesn't like to be called like King of Kings. He doesn't like to be called, the second advent. He likes to be called True Parents. Because, that's the most fundamental relationship. He doesn't want to be a detached person who's like, I will save you. But he wants to be the parent. He wants to be the one who, to be that closer person. So, in that sense, True Father is in the spirit world. True Mother is in the physical world. And we don't know how much True Mother will be present in the physical world. In a sense, it is very important for all of us to really become united and to truly become one family, to live as one family, to really attend True Parents, True Mother as our mother, and to really build our movement to go forward, to really be able to establish Chanyeolgo. So anyway, I really hope that through this very short presentation, I really hope that you could really rethink about True Parents' role as the Messiah and their purpose, and to really think about how we can connect and to really build relationship of true parents. Okay? Thank you.
Please give him a big applause. Thank you so much. So now we are gonna have sharing time. Sharing time by 9:50. 9:50.